Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Cavanaugh, Chief Executive Officer of the American Animal Hospital Association. Providing the best possible care to pets, like my friend Zoe here, is what's most important to AAHA, your practice, and pet lovers everywhere. But we're also concerned about safety, your safety, and the safety of your practice team members, your clients, and anyone else who comes into your practice. This video and the accompanying workbook can ensure that you don't compromise safety while you provide your excellent services to your clients and your patients. So please, watch carefully. Zoe and I will thank you. Right, Zoe?
The goal of a safety program is to prevent accidents and keep people safe. The three main methods for achieving that goal are to provide training that enables a staff member to develop skills, increasing your awareness of the issue so that proper procedures are followed, and adhering to the regulatory requirements for safety. You should know where the hospital safety manual is located and take time to become familiar with it. Memorize the do's and don'ts of the hospital and always follow the safety rules. No one can protect you from an injury or illness better than you can protect yourself. One of the first rules of safety is to dress appropriately for the job at hand. In the veterinary profession, that also includes footwear and jewelry. You can reduce the chances of getting injury from slips and falls by wearing shoes with non-slip soles that cover your whole foot. Be especially cautious walking on uneven or wet floors. Never run inside the hospital or on uneven footing. Excessive jewelry and very loose-fitting clothing can present hazards if an animal struggles during restraint, so it's best to keep it to a minimum. Because veterinary workers perform such a variety of jobs in any given hour, it's rare to acquire the types of ergonomic injuries common in other industries. However, it's important to note that the best defense against all ergonomic injuries is to change your posture and routine frequently. According to insurance statistics, back injuries account for 1 in every 5 workplace injuries to American workers. To minimize your chances of suffering one of these very painful injuries, remember the rules for lifting. Keep your back straight and lift with your legs. Never bend over to lift an object. That rule applies to patients as well as inanimate objects such as boxes or supplies. If your practice doesn't have a motorized lift table, get help when lifting patients over 40 pounds. Remember to follow sound ergonomic principles when positioning or restraining patients. Some injuries are caused by cluttered or dirty work areas. We also know that clutter contributes to the severity of accidents that would otherwise be minor. Cleanliness and organization are good business standards, especially in a healthcare facility. Always clean up spills as soon as they happen. You should always clean and return equipment to the proper storage place immediately after use. At least daily, remove all trash from your work area. Organize drawers, cabinets, and counters so that items can be found easily and clutter is reduced. Always store supplies and equipment properly, keeping heavy supplies or equipment on the lower shelves to prevent unnecessary strains. Never use stairways or exit hallways as storage areas. Don't overload shelves or cabinets. Store liquids in containers with tight-fitting lids and always replace the lids when finished using the product. When possible, store chemicals on shelves that are at or below eye level. Never climb into or on cabinets, shelves, chairs, buckets, or similar items. Use an appropriate ladder or step to reach high locations.
The ingestion of pathogens or harmful chemicals is a potential hazard, so only eat or drink in areas free of toxic and biologically harmful substances. Food preparation is also a concern, so make sure your coffee pot and utensil area is well away from the lab or treatment bathing tub and other sources of possible contamination. Make sure the cabinets above your drink or food don't contain hazardous chemicals or supplies that could spill onto the area. Always store your food, drinks, condiments, and snacks in a refrigerator free from biological or chemical hazards, including vaccines, drugs, and laboratory samples. Many procedures performed on a daily basis require the use of machines and electricity. Always avoid a situation which could cause a fire or physical harm to yourself, another person, or a patient. Never operate machinery or equipment without all the proper guards in place. Equipment like fans and cage dryers have moving parts that can severely hurt or even sever a finger. Long hair should be tied back or up to prevent it from getting caught in fans or other moving parts. If you must perform minor maintenance or user services of any electrical device, be sure to unplug or disconnect the electrical power so that it cannot be accidentally energized until it's safe. When using equipment like autoclaves, microwave ovens, cautery irons, or other heating devices, be sure to understand the proper rules for safe operation. Burns, especially from steam, are painful and serious and almost always can be prevented. Autoclaves also present a danger from the pressure that is used from proper sterilization. When opening the autoclave, first release the pressure with the vent device and keep your hands and face away from the steam. Let the steam completely rise before opening the door fully. Be careful when removing the packs because they're still hot. Always assume cautery devices and branding irons are hot and use the insulated handle. Never place heated irons on any surface where they could overheat and start a fire, or where someone may accidentally touch them.
The potential for dramatic loss of life and the destruction of property make a hospital fire one of the most feared accidents imaginable. Fortunately, the danger can be significantly reduced by a few simple precautions. Never use power adapters or surge suppressors as a substitute for permanent wiring. Overloaded or faulty electrical cords can overheat or short and start a fire, even when the equipment is turned off. Always store flammable liquids properly. Materials like gasoline, paint thinner, and ether should never be stored inside the hospital except in an approved flammable storage cabinet. Some components of specialty dental and large animal acrylic repair kits are also very flammable. Very small amounts of these components are usually not a problem, but always ensure they are stored and used in an area with good ventilation and the containers have tight-fitting lids that are replaced immediately after use. Flammable items, particularly newspapers, boxes, and cleaning chemicals, must always be stored at least 3 feet away from an ignition source, such as a water heater, furnace, or stove. Always use extra care when using portable heaters. Never leave them unattended, and always make sure they are placed no closer than 3 feet from any wall, furniture, or other flammable material. Become familiar with the location of the emergency exits in your facility. Make sure the emergency exits are always unlocked and free from obstructions when you are in the building. If you must work in a building when security warrants the doors are locked, make sure you have at least 2 clear exits from the building. Learn the emergency warning system in your hospital. If the facility is equipped with an electronic alarm system, be sure you know how to activate it manually. In the absence of an electronic alarm system, a verbal alarm is very effective. You can use the telephone intercom feature to alert everyone that there is a fire in the building or in small buildings. Simply yelling will get the message out. Know your duties in the event of a fire. Remember, your first responsibility is to notify others about the fire and then to get out of the building safely if an evacuation is ordered. Leave the rescue duties to the professionals that are trained and equipped to handle this very dangerous task. If you do evacuate the building, immediately report to the designated assembly area for accountability. This is very important since others will assume you are still in the building if you are not present at the assembly area. Know where the fire extinguishers are located and how to use them. If you must use a portable fire extinguisher, remember the acronym, PASS. Pull the pin. Some extinguishers require releasing a lock latch, pressing a puncture lever, or other motion. Aim low, pointing the extinguisher or hose at the base of the fire. Squeeze the handle. This releases the extinguishing agent. Sweep from side to side at the base of the fire until it appears to be out. Of course, natural disasters such as tornadoes and earthquakes will strike with little or no warning. Your practice should have a plan to respond to those events, and you should be familiar with that plan. Other natural disasters such as hurricanes or blizzards are often predictable with enough time so that plans can be adapted to accommodate the safety needs of patients and staff. After the disaster, if the facility is damaged and must be evacuated, meet at the designated meeting place and wait for emergency personnel. If you can, provide help to those who are injured. Watch for and stay away from power lines and puddles with wires in them as they may still be carrying electricity. Be careful to avoid broken glass, nails, and other sharp objects. Stay out of the facility unless instructed by emergency personnel or the senior person in charge. Don't use matches or lighters in case of leaking natural gas pipes or fuel tanks nearby. Remain calm and alert, and listen for information and instructions from emergency crews or local officials. Ask your supervisor for the details of your practice's natural disaster plan.
Just as in any occupation, you are at risk of injury from vehicle accidents, personal assault, robbery, and even natural disasters. Although no one can prevent every possible scenario, preparation can certainly help and sometimes will minimize the injury. Security is paramount. Always keep the non-client doors locked from the outside to prevent anyone from gaining unauthorized or undetected entry into the building. This single step is critical. In the veterinary practice, the majority of violent acts are committed by friends and relatives of employees or ex-employees, and they usually gain entrance to the facility through the unlocked staff entrance door. Do not share your passcode or key to the hospital with others. If you work in a critical care or 24-hour practice, you should utilize the barriers that are usually available. Use of buzzers to control access from the front door, and one-way locks on the remaining doors to let you out in case of an emergency. But keep the door locked from the outside. This is essential in these environments, so don't defeat them. Pay particular attention to leaving the hospital alone. It's best to leave in pairs or groups when possible. Have your keys in your hand before you leave the building. Lock the doors immediately after you get into your vehicle. If you're alone, don't roll down the windows to speak to someone you don't know, even if they ask for assistance. Offer to call the police for them on your cell phone, but don't let them in the vehicle. In many practices, there are times when someone must work alone. Often that's on the weekend or holidays when someone has to come in for treatments and patient care, and for practices who take after-hour emergency calls. Here's some tips for when you must work alone. Make safety a routine. By practicing these steps every time you go to work, you'll establish a pattern of safe behavior so it comes naturally. Let someone you trust know where you are going and that you will be working alone for a while. Arrange to call them at a specific time. If you don't call at the arranged time, they can check on your safety. Once inside, make sure to lock the door behind you. If the business is open and you are alone, make sure all the doors except for the front client entrance are locked so that you won't be surprised. If other staff members must come and go throughout the day, they should use the front door or have a key or the combination to the back door. When responding to an emergency call after hours with unknown clients, take extra precautions. Instead of having the answering service patch the call directly through to you, get a phone number and call them right back. Listen to the background noise during the call. If you hear traffic noises, it's likely that they are using a payphone. That's a warning sign. Leave their name and phone number with a trusted friend or a relative and arrange a time that you will check in. If you still feel uncomfortable, have a friend follow you in another car to the hospital and wait in the parking lot until you give them the OK sign. You can even call the local police department and ask them to do a drive-by in 20 or 30 minutes to make sure everything is okay. When you arrive at the hospital, if possible, drive all the way around the building once before parking. Take notice of any cars or people that don't belong there. When leaving the hospital, look outside before you unlock the door. Take notice of anyone loitering in the parking lot or near the building. If there are cars in the parking lot that don't belong there, you should be cautious and not leave the building until you have assistance. When outside of the hospital building, be aware of your environment and do your best to avoid placing yourself in a situation that could go bad.